Baby, come sit down and let Auntie Grace talk to you for a minute. Because folks out here keep saying, I'm retiring at 65, that's the magic number, and I need you to hear me real clear. Retiring at 65 is not always freedom, and for a whole lot of people, it is a huge mistake. Yes, I said it, a huge mistake. Not because 65 is old, Lord no. These days, 65 can still be young, active, sharp, and full of life. The mistake is thinking that because you can retire at 65, you should. Honey, those are two different things. Just because the cake is in the oven don't mean it's done. Some folks hit 65 and walk out that office smiling, waving goodbye, feeling cute, feeling free, and then 2 years later, they're sitting at the kitchen table sweating over grocery prices, praying the car doesn't break down, and wondering why nobody told them the truth. Well, Auntie Grace is telling you now. I don't want you making a life decision based on a number somebody tossed around 20 years ago. I want you to retire when you are ready, not when tradition tells you to. Let me tell you the first hard truth, Sleety. Retirement is not about your age. Retirement is about your money. I know that doesn't sound romantic. I know that doesn't sound exciting, but I'm not here to sell you a dream. I'm here to keep you from a nightmare. See, if you retire at 65 and you live to 85, that money has to last 20 years. If you live to 90, that's 25 years. And if you come from one of those strong, long-living families where Aunt Luella is still fussing at everybody at 94, then baby, your money may need to last close to 30 years. That is a long time for a paycheck to stop and the bills to keep on rolling in. Rent still comes, property taxes still come, food still costs money, the lights still need to stay on, your body still needs medicine, your car still needs tires. Life does not get cheap just because you retired. If anything, some parts get more expensive. And speaking of expensive, let's talk about inflation, because that little thing right there is sneaky. Inflation is like that cousin who keeps borrowing $10 and somehow you never see it again. It slowly chips away at what your money can do. A grocery bill that used to be one amount creeps up. A dinner out costs more. Insurance goes up, utilities go up, home repairs go up. The money you saved at 55 does not spend the same way at 75. That is why retiring too early can hurt more than people expect. They sit there thinking, I've got this amount in savings, I'll be just fine. But they're doing the math using today's prices for tomorrow's life. And tomorrow's life, honey, costs more, a lot more. So if you stop working at 65 without enough cushion, inflation can slowly turn what looked like a solid plan into a shaky one. Now, let's talk about healthcare, because this is where people really fool themselves. They think, well, I hit 65, so I've got Medicare. I'm covered. Covered? Child, covered does not mean free. Covered does not mean no surprise bills. Covered does not mean no premiums, no deductibles, no copays, no prescriptions, no dental, no vision, no hearing costs, no long-term care worries. That body you've been carrying around all these years starts sending invoices, baby. Knees, hips, back, blood pressure, heart, eyes, teeth, all of it wants attention. And attention costs money. One doctor visit may be manageable, one prescription may be manageable, but stack up doctor visits, specialists, scans, therapy, medicine, dental work, hearing aids, and the little things insurance does not fully cover, and suddenly retirement starts looking mighty expensive. I don't say that to scare you. I say it because too many people retire on a number that sounds good in their head and forget that healthcare has a way of humbling all of us. And while we're at it, let me tell you something about Social Security, because folks get this twisted all the time. A lot of people think 65 is the age when full retirement age just magically kicks in and everything is lovely. Not necessarily, honey. For many people, full retirement age is actually later than 65. And if you start your Social Security before your full retirement age, your monthly check can be smaller for the rest of your life. Smaller for the rest of your life. Now, if you need the money, that is one thing. No shame in that. Life happens. But if you retire at 65 just because it sounds nice, and then you claim benefits too early without understanding the trade-off, you might lock yourself into a smaller monthly income than you really needed. On the other side, if you can afford to wait a little longer, sometimes that monthly check gets bigger. That matters, especially when you live a long time, especially when prices keep rising, especially when you're trying to not be a burden on your children. This is why I get a little sassy when people throw around retirement ages like they're birthday party themes. This is your life, not a Hallmark card. And let me say one more thing people don't like to hear. Work is not just about money. Sometimes work is structure. Sometimes work is community. Sometimes work is purpose. Now, I know some of y'all are tired, and I get it. Some jobs will wear you clean out. Some bosses act like they were raised by wolves. Some workplaces will make you want to throw your badge into the parking lot and peel off with the tires squealing. I understand that. But before you retire, ask yourself this: am I retiring from work or am I running from a bad situation? Because those are not the same thing. If you were just burnt out, maybe the answer is not full retirement. Maybe it is a different job, part-time work, consulting, seasonal work, a slower pace. Maybe you need relief, not a permanent exit. Because if you retire with no plan for your days, no plan for your purpose, and no plan for your money, that freedom can start feeling mighty empty. Let me give you a few real-life examples, because this is where it gets plain as day. Let's say we have Miss Sharon. Sharon turns 65, she's tired, she wants peace, and she says, "That's it, I'm done." She retires with a decent little nest egg, a paid-off car, and a house that still has some repairs waiting. At first, she is thrilled. She sleeps in, she watches her shows, she takes a little trip, she buys things for the grandbabies. She says this is the life. Then, a year later, the roof needs work, her property taxes go up, her grocery bill is higher than she expected, her prescription changes and costs more, then her old refrigerator gives up the ghost. Suddenly, she's pulling money out of savings faster than she planned, and because she claimed income too early, her monthly money is lower than she had hoped. Sharon didn't do anything foolish. She did what a lot of good people do. She underestimated how expensive ordinary life can be over a long retirement. Now, let's talk about Mr. Calvin. Calvin wanted to retire at 65 too. He was sick of the daily grind, but instead of quitting right away, he ran the numbers. He looked at his savings, he looked at his debts, he looked at his health. He looked at what Social Security would pay him at 65, 67, and 70. Then he said, "You know what? I can work 2 more years, but I'm going to do it smarter." He moved to a lighter role, he cut back on spending, he paid off his last credit card, he built a bigger cash cushion, he waited a little longer to claim benefits. When he finally retired, he was not rich, but he was ready. That is the difference. He didn't let pride or tradition rush him, he let wisdom lead him. Then there's Miss Denise. Denise retired at 65 because everybody around her was doing it. That right there will get you in trouble, baby. Everybody does not pay your bills. Everybody is not living in your body. Everybody is not sitting in your house. Denise thought she would be happy because retirement looked cute from the outside, and for a while it was. But after the novelty wore off, she started feeling anxious. She missed having a routine. She missed seeing people. She missed feeling useful. Her husband was still working, the children were busy, her friends had their own lives, and suddenly her days felt long. She was not lazy. She was lost. People don't talk enough about that part. Retirement is not just a financial change, it is an identity change. If you do not prepare your heart as well as your wallet, retirement can hit you sideways. That emotional side matters more than folks realize. So many people spend decades dreaming about retirement like it's one long vacation. They say, "When I retire, I'm going to rest. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do me." And that sounds lovely, it really does. But retirement is not a vacation. A vacation is temporary. Retirement is a whole new season of life, a long one if you're blessed. And if your plan is just rest, well, honey, after enough resting, you are going to need meaning. You're going to need rhythm. You're going to need something that gets you up in the morning besides checking the mail and arguing with customer service. People get excited to leave work, but they don't always think about what they're walking toward. Then regret sneaks in. Not because retirement itself was bad, but because the planning was weak. And let me lovingly say this too. Some people retire at 65 because they are embarrassed to keep working. Baby, embarrassed for what? To be stable? To be smart? To protect your peace later? Please, we are too grown for that foolishness. If working a little longer gives you more security, that is not failure, that is wisdom. If part-time work helps you delay drawing down your savings, that is not sad, that is strategy. If switching jobs saves your mental health while keeping money coming in, that is not settling, that is maturity. Stop letting people shame you for making careful choices. Half the folks with opinions are one emergency away from a panic attack. You don't need applause from broke spectators. Now, does this mean nobody should retire at 65? No, sweetie, that is not what Auntie Grace is saying. Some people absolutely can retire at 65 and do just fine. Maybe they have strong savings. Maybe they have a pension. Maybe they have little or no debt. Maybe they have affordable housing. Maybe they understand their healthcare setup. Maybe they've planned for taxes, inflation, and long life. Maybe they know how they want. Fifth, understand your Social Security choices before you touch them. Don't just claim because your neighbor did. Don't claim because your cousin said that's what everybody does. Find out what your benefit looks like at different ages. See what changes if you wait. See what changes if you stop working but delay benefits. That one decision can affect your monthly income for the rest of your life. Treat it with respect. This is not the place for guesswork and gossip. Sixth, ask yourself what you are retiring to. I really want that to sink in. What are you retiring to? A plan? A purpose? A new routine? Volunteer work? Family time? A small business? Travel? Gardening? Church work? Consulting? Mentoring? Something meaningful. Because if all you are retiring to is not working, that may feel good for 6 months. After that, emptiness can creep in. Human beings need rest, yes, but we also need meaning. We need connection. We need a reason to put on real clothes and leave the house sometimes. Seventh, and this is important, talk to somebody smart before you leap. Somebody who will tell you the truth, not just pat you on the back. Sit down with a trusted financial professional if you can. Sit down with your spouse if you have one. Sit down with yourself and be honest. No pretending, no magical thinking, no the Lord will provide as an excuse for not planning. Yes, the Lord provides, but He also gave you sense. Use both. And for those of you who are sitting there feeling discouraged right now, let Auntie Grace put a hand on your shoulder through this screen and tell you something loving. If you are not ready to retire at 65, that does not mean you failed. It means you are paying attention. It means you care enough about your future not to play games with it. There is dignity in being careful. There is strength in adjusting the plan. There is wisdom in saying, not yet. And there is absolutely no shame in working a little longer so your later years can be calmer, safer, and sweeter. I want your retirement to feel like peace, not panic. I want it to feel like freedom, not fear. I want you buying groceries without secretly worrying about the cost of gas. I want you going to the doctor when you need to, not putting it off because you're scared of the bill. I want you sleeping well at night. That is the goal, not just quitting work. Peace